So I would say, like, the theme song opens the show.
Yeah.
And then you'll hear it, and then you'll learn it, and then we can perform it live next week or something.
Can work on that.
But you could, like, if you hear it and...
Wait.
Yes?
What's the order? What's happening?
First, we're going to introduce Doug, who's a licensed psychotherapist.
I think it's better if you don't
Yeah,
know. I think it's
he's a licensed car mechanic. He works with families and teens. Specifically, it's too many people talking.
All right, ready? Everybody ready? Check out the fucking show.
Okay.
And we all put these on.
Yeah, mine don't reach.
Like the annoying kid I didn't want to have.
I'm saying Jake's line.
Please, you're the only one talking.
Pray.
Our place, where we can dream and share it. Our place, you'll find a
Oh, my background
friend
singing. That's me,
again.
Louise Palanker, background singing on my own hit single, Our Place, the Our Place theme. I'm Louise Palanker here with Our Place Out Loud. We have a lovely and captivating panel of wise and insightful teenagers. We've got Kiamute, Ryan, Maddie, Olivia, Austin, and Rory. And Jake's on vacation. And who else is missing? Anyone else missing? Just Jake is gone. Playing the part of Jake tonight will be Justin. Give it up for Justin playing the part of Jake. Hair and makeup for Justin. He doesn't look enough like Jake. And tonight on the show, we're instituting what I hope to be a new tradition. We have our own musical director. Please welcome Rob and the band.
Yes. I'm a band of one. Hi,
Yeah.
everybody.
This is Rob Iceman Eisenberg, everybody.
Hello,
Our
hello,
musical
hello.
director. And a friend of Rob's who knew each other in real life before tonight is Doug Green, who is a licensed psychotherapist.
That is correct.
Yes.
That is correct.
So
It's the
for the
first time you've
past
gotten it
hour,
right.
I've been calling him a physiotherapist and a psychiatrist,
License to kill.
hypnotherapist, and hypnotist. But,
And a car mechanic.
and a car mechanic, because he has many, many gifts. But his specialty, go ahead and tell them your specialty.
Sure. I am a therapist. I work in Woodland Hills in West LA. I specialize in helping kids and teens live lives they can be proud of. And I also run a website that we can talk about later if you like. Or
No,
now.
I want to hear what's the URL so the kids can look it up right now.
Sure. The website is called AskSherelle.com, AskShirelle.com. It's not unlike your show, this show.
Or the app.
Or the app.
Yeah.
Or the app.
Where kids write
Absolutely.
in with questions and we answer them.
Exactly. It's not unlike that, except instead of having a qualified person or a bevy of qualified people to answer the question, the questions are answered by a dog. And from a dog's point of view, because there are those of us who think that dogs actually understand a lot of things a lot better than any humans do and kind of have it together. So
You know what I find most impressive about Sherelle is her typing skills.
it's one of those trick things like Stephen Hawking, you know, that she just has some amazing technology and is able to get this stuff in
Yeah,
there. But of course the
she's-
paws don't work. She doesn't have opposable
She doesn't have
claws.
opposable thumbs, but she's impressive, and I've read a few of her answers, and I learned a lot from that
Cool.
dog. Yeah.
Great.
And then she
Thanks.
wanted me to walk her, so it became a codependent relationship.
It's-
Give us a
yeah.
call at 888-531-7171 if you'd have a question for a licensed psychohypnotherapist, and we can also work on your spine and get you a little bit more flexible because he's licensed. So, Iceman, you should we open the show with you've been writing some new jingles for the show.
I do. I
And
do.
I'm very-
I have one we can do right now if you'd
I'm
like.
very excited because I was gonna harmonize with you. I don't know the words, so I might just hum.
Fine. Let's do the Our House one.
Okay.
How about that one?
All right.
Our place is a place for teens to meet. Our place it is for when life is bittersweet. Our place is a show that's really neat. Our place is when you write us, it's a treat. So there's that one. We'll learn it better
That's-
next time.
Yeah, so we're just working it out. So, does anyone have any questions for Doug, the hypnotherapist? Go ahead, Ryan. Oh, the phone is ringing. How exciting!
Lately, my foot's been bothering me. Can you? No.
Yeah, cut it off. It's
Oh, okay. Okay.
So,
How long has your foot felt this way about your mother?
so do you work with kids? Do you work with kids like one-on-one, or do you work with like the kid and the mom together, or do you work with the whole family? Like, how does it work? Because
Yeah.
all the time I'm telling kids, you need to ask your mom to take you to go see a therapist. So some parents are open to this and some are not. So when they finally come to see you, what can they expect?
They can expect any of the above or other things too. I certainly, when I first see people, kids, teens, I like to get a parent in there, largely because I have a lot of questions to ask that the kid's not going to know the answers to about their early life, about family history, stuff like that. But after that, it really depends on the case. I love seeing families. I find that if I can get the whole family in there, there's a lot that I can accomplish that can't be done with just one person. But usually you can't get the whole family in. And so it's also great to get just a kid, a teen in there. They actually have an adult who they can tell anything to, who's not going to yell at them and tell them they're doing it wrong.
Well,
And
one
that's
of my
pretty
one of my
useful.
big questions then up front is because I get this a lot and I never really know what to say, and then it's also kind of baffling because I know that the problem exists because of the exact reaction to the problem. If this is making any sense, in other words, so let's say that the child cuts, and let's say she finally tells her mother she cuts, and her mother starts screaming at her, calling her useless and worthless and horrible. And so I'm sitting there reading the letter thinking, the reason you cut is because your mom doesn't get you, or because your mom will think that, how is this going to make me look? And so when they come to you, they always ask me, like, will he tell my mom that I cut? Because my mom's going to yell at me. Like, how do you explain to the parents why the child cuts and to stop yelling at them, which is really what's causing the problem?
Right. Well, the first thing is I wouldn't necessarily jump completely to the conclusion you did. I would just say that yelling at the kids sure doesn't help.
Okay.
But there could be something else that, totally separate. Maybe this kid was molested, and that's what elicited the cutting. And then on top of that, you've got somebody screaming at you. So the first thing I would do is work with the kid to, if the kid told me this and said, I don't want my mom to know because she's just going to yell, my thing would be to work with the kid to find out, how much can we tell mom? How much can we do? Could we work with your mom to get her to stop yelling at you? And then, try to bring this in. Because frankly, especially if they're cutting badly, there's an enormous physical danger, and I have to keep the client safe. If the kid's in physical danger, I have to tell.
That's the big conundrum, because I can't promise them that if they go see the counselor, that the counselor won't have to reveal to the parent that the kid is doing something dangerous.
Right, and that's always tough with the kid, and it's tough on us because we want to have that relationship with the kid, and at the same time, as I say, we've got to keep it safe.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we do is work with the kid to see if there are other things that can help ease that thing. Ice cubes, for example. You can scrape yourself with ice cubes for 2 hours and you're not going to hurt yourself, but you will still get that same sensation.
It will. That gives them the same sensation.
Yeah. Now, it doesn't give them the visual experience of that cutting does, which means a lot to a lot of people. You can draw on yourself. You can draw on yourself with a ballpoint pen and you'll get a little bit of both. It's a question of where we can get with it. Snapping yourself with rubber bands. These are all things that help with cutting. But again, our goal is to stop them from doing the actual really dangerous.
And so I'm sorry to dwell on cutting, but it does seem to be the number one epidemic with teens right now. And
Sure bad.
Was that the case 20 years ago and we just didn't know about it, or is this just extremely contagious?
It's definitely gotten worse and getting worse. I don't know. I'd say your experts might have as good an idea as I do, or maybe better, of why this has happened. But I think contagious is a good word for it. I think I never heard of it when I was a teenager.
Right.
I was a guy. That hasn't changed, and it is more often
Are you still a
girls who do
guy?
it. I still am. I still am, and it was more. It tends to be more often girls who do it. So
Yes.
I don't know if I called up a girl I went to high school with, she might say, "Oh, you idiot! No one told you." Yeah, half our class was doing it. I don't know that.
Trish, we didn't know anything about. She's my age.
Uh-huh.
There was no cutting that I was aware of.
Yeah.
Not one of my friends. I never heard of it until I was an adult, and there was something on 2020 about it,
Right.
and I was just wow. And then I was working with some kids at a Laugh Factory camp for stand-up comedy,
Mhm.
and one of the girls told me that she lived in a group home and she had to shower with an adult in the room because they didn't want her around razor blades without an adult. And, she told me this, and I tried to help her write a joke about it because my job was to help the kids write
boy.
jokes. And so the joke, I now realize that the joke that I suggested was entirely inappropriate,
Mhm.
but I still think it's funny. Am I a bad person?
Can you tell the joke?
Yes, I can. The joke is that she could say that she has a problem with cutting, and when she gets mad at herself, she cuts herself. And one day she accidentally shaved herself cutting.
I'd say it depends on your audience.
Funny yes, funny no.
I'd say if you said it
Austin?
to a crowd of cutters,
No.
it would go over great.
Oh, really?
They'd love it.
Oh, okay.
If you said it to a group of parents, you would just have the
Flatline.
silentest.
Flatline.
Just the crickets would go deaf.
It didn't
from
do that well in
themselves.
this room. Kind of died an open death here.
It's a tough room, Louise.
It's a tough
Yeah,
room.
yeah.
All right. Yes, Ryan.
But I have a real question now. So
Okay.
if I have, I didn't mean like real,
No,
not
no,
yours,
no.
but I meant because my last one wasn't real.
Perfect.
If you have a friend who's cutting and like being like me, if I have a friend who's cutting, and even though it's not my job because I'm not their therapist to help them through, like to fully help them through that, what can I do to encourage them to stop and like not get too much in their business yet still help them?
That's the funny part. And the more you can get them to let you into their business, the better, because it's a very solitary activity. It tends to come from feeling very depressed to the degree that your body goes numb. And so you want to feel something, so you do this, and it brings feelings up. So the more you befriend them, the more you connect with them, the more you're doing fun things, the less numb they're going to get, and it'll help.
All right.
I'm sorry?
I just said, all right.
Oh, okay. And but beyond that, I would say, if they continue, have them call me.
All right.
And or if there's a counselor at school or something. But just the more they can feel they don't have to be alone in this, that would be great.
So in other words, plug yourself into life so that you feel things. It
Yeah.
almost seems to me as if that cutting happens because it's proof and evidence that emotional pain is so much more excruciating than physical pain.
Yeah, I think that's some of it too. It's a way of making yourself exist. There's also the excitement of doing something and hiding it from others. So you cut on your hip where nobody sees, that kind of thing. There's a lot of teen stuff in there.
Yeah. 888-531-7171, Austin.
Okay, so I have two questions.
Sure.
One, if a child cuts and tells you that and the parent doesn't know, are you obligated to tell the parent?
This is what we were talking about before. It's a very gray area. My main thing is to find out how badly they're cutting. And if they'll show me what they're doing, if it's that they're really scratching, and we can work with that, I'd rather not tell the parent and build that relationship of trust with the kid. If they're really doing something that is dangerous, I may say, I'm so sorry. I will work with you. Let's plan a session so we can build it so that, we can do it on your terms. We can tell the parents on your terms. We can do this kind of stuff. But I have to tell them because what you're doing is physically dangerous and everybody wants you okay. But it's not a fun situation for anybody.
And then
in
when you have that conversation with the parent, and I'm asking you all these questions just because I'm so curious, because my whole the body of my work is talking to the kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fascinated with how you would then talk to the parent and explain this is what she's doing, and this is why, without it turning into a situation that just blows up at home once you're gone.
Right. That's the finesse of it all, and it's looking at the parent. It's working with them as best you can, given their stuff. And I should say, cutting is not my specialty. If someone was in really bad shape, I would refer them probably to somebody who is a cutting specialist. But to do that would mean telling the parents. So working with the parent can be the biggest part of a job of a child therapist. It can be the most important thing very often. I mean, the cliche you always hear is, oh, the kid's not the problem, it's that parents are crazy. And that's not always the case. And in fact, the parents who bring their kids to a therapist are usually really wonderful people.
Right.
But how you talk to them, how you get them to understand what the kid's going through on terms that, using your example, doesn't make it, oh, it's all about me. How could you embarrass me? How could you humiliate me? That's the work. That's the job.
What is your specialty?
My specialty is I don't have a single issue like that. What I seem to get mostly is really smart, really anxious kids. The really good kid who is doing their homework and has always been really great. And for some reason, in the last 3 months, they have never handed their homework in, even though they've done it every night. I get kids like that. But that's just what gets referred to me, whatever. My specialty is more in how I work. I work in a very active way. I use something called drama therapy. It's not just having people sit on a couch and talk. We play a lot. We do art. We do music. We do anything, acting, stuff to rehearse life, to get excitement going.
Do you give yourself the lead?
When we dance, it's not that kind of dancing.
In the
it's
play,
not. We don't
'cause, I mean,
tango.
It's your play. You definitely should
Oh, I would say I direct and they write.
Okay. So it's collaborative.
Yeah, because I want them being creative. That's the whole goal.
So we are at 888-531-7171. Was your hand up, Ryan?
Yeah, it
Yes.
was. It was a quick question. So,
Sure.
From the end of 7th grade to the start of high school, I was at a therapeutic boarding school, and a lot of the kids there thought that their parents were just sending them there to get rid of them. And it was one of those things where it's like, how do you tell a kid that their parents are sending them into therapy to help them, not because they just are like done with them?
Wow. Well, I guess in my work, nobody does that because
Right.
you're not going to do that to get rid of your kid for 1 hour.
Right,
It's
exactly.
not. But if the kid thinks my parents are sending me in because they want to change me, to fix me, that's something where I make it really strongly clear at the very first session and say, I don't work that way.
All right.
If your parents wanted that, they would send your kid to somebody else, because I'm here to work with you, to make you feel happy, to have you live the life you want,
Right.
getting rid of what's ever in your way. So usually that kind of parent hates me and quits seeing me very quickly.
All right.
Yeah.
Livy?
I have a similar question. Like, I spent some time in a mental hospital, and there was this kid there, and he was only there because his parents kept paying for him to stay in the hospital. And even the doctors in group would say like there's nothing wrong with you. Like, you're not here. You weren't depressed. You weren't cutting. You didn't have anxiety. You didn't have any of this. His parents just put him there, and they kept paying week after week after week to keep him there.
The technical term would be that really sucks. On all counts. I would say the doctors, it's questionable whether they were acting ethically, taking money, using that spot that could have been used for somebody who really needed help, to do that. Now, in a practice like mine, it's totally fine. People can come in and just talk about what's been going on that week. Hey, this person at school really annoys me. That's fine. But in a hospital
I
setting,
just didn't understand how he was allowed to stay there, even after
I agree with you. As
Okay.
the best I can say, it sounds terrible.
Ryan,
on
I'm going
so
to
many
have you.
counts.
I'm going to have you read the first question,
Yeah.
but before
All right.
I do that, I believe Iceman has written a little jingle
Oh, it's my turn.
for Ryan.
Okay, here's a little Bruno Mars parody for you. You
Alright,
kids know
okay.
Bruno Mars, I think. Okay, it goes something like this. And now it feels like we'll be hearing from Ryan before long, and he's never wrong. Hey, hey.
Oh, he's wrong.
I'm never wrong, Wheezy.
Hey. Ryan,
All right. Yeah. So that's me. I'm Ryan.
please
and-
read. I don't know. I'm a believer's question for us.
Yeah. So hey, Wheezy, please answer. So my mom found out I cut yesterday, even though I told her many times in the letters I have written to her. She said she thought that I wasn't being serious. She called me sick-minded and kind of mocked me when I told her why I did it, and that hurt my feelings. She took away my room, made me take down all my Justin Bieber posters, and makes me sleep with her. She also said that she might consider a psychologist. She also is also considering moving schools and houses, but that would make things worse for me. I tried telling her, but she isn't listening. I don't know what to expect or what is going to happen now.
So, what's interesting to me about the letter is, like, she does all these things that aren't the right answer. Like, you have to sleep with mom, and she takes down your Bieber posters. And then she's thinking, so how is it that of taking her to a psychologist, how is it that moms are so off base when it seems like if your arm is broken, hey, we're going to go to the hospital and get an x-ray and get a cast. Why is it such a long, windy path to you?
Because mom is really embarrassed and really scared. And this mom doesn't know what to do. The only thing, it's funny, it probably sounds the worst to you guys, but the only thing she's doing that makes any sense to me is the thing about saying you have to sleep in my bed, because that way mom can keep an eye on her, or him, but I'll assume her, and keep them from cutting. But taking the posters off the wall is the last thing in the world to do. I would say that's the case. That's a perfect case where I need to talk to mom a lot more than I need to talk to that kid, and get mom to calm down and not feel that she's a complete failure and that everything's a disaster, and to realize really it's okay. This isn't the end of the world, and you need to chill.
So if people lived in the LA area and they wanted to find you, how would they find you?
Thank you for asking that. You can look at my online, DouglasGreenMFT.com, or you can call me, 818-624-3637, anytime.
All right.
Anytime. Thank you.
Rory, would you like to read the question from Julius?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I believe we have a Rory theme song.
Oh, yes, the Rory theme song, of course.
Great.
Here is Rory. It's her what he's saying. 'Cause you know that his advice is good as gold.
Ba-da-da-da-ba-dum.
Love the Brady Bunch. Good stuff.
Well, they love you.
Yeah, oh, man. Marsha. All right, this is from Julius. My BF always moans and grabs my waist when we kiss. He put me on his bed and hovers over me and breathes heavy. What should I do? I mean, we're only 15. Smiley face.
So what gets me about the question is it's kind of indicative of a lot of what I see, which is girls feeling powerless within the relationship, that I just have to do whatever this guy wants because I really like him. How do we give girls their power? And I would say back, but I don't want to say back because I think they have their power, but they don't know they have it. And how do we speak to girls in terms of because if you just say to them, hey, if he leaves and, he didn't deserve you in the first, that's not what they want to hear. They don't want to lose the dude. Go ahead, Dr. Green. Dr. Physiotherapist. What are you again? Psychiatrist. The psychiatrist is here. He's in.
I'll just say this to every girl out there in the world, and every guy. If she doesn't want it, you can't do it. It's the end of the story.
But she's not saying anything. She's kind of letting him hover and breathe.
And that's where somebody needs, and I hope you guys over there can say
I
it
hope
to her.
he's been chewing gum or something.
But is moaning and breathing heavy really like...
You have the right to say no, and if he can't deal with that, I'm not going to sit there and say he's not good enough for you, but if he won't listen to you saying no now, today it's about pushing you onto a bed, tomorrow it's going to be something else. That's going to be worse.
Yeah, it's going to be worse. And you can always say, this is making me uncomfortable. Go ahead, Rye.
Say no.
Well, I agree with what you were saying about, like, it's not that their power's gone. It's just that a lot of times they don't know that they have it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also hard when you really, want to continue, like, a relationship with someone or want to continue doing something with someone, but have to tell them to stop because sometimes that can interrupt that. But ultimately, you need to make the decision that's best for you, which is to draw the line where you're not comfortable. But on a different note, just like hovering and breathing heavy. There's this character in Hey Arnold who used to always hover around and breathe really heavy, but that's all he did. He just followed them around and breathe in the background. Yeah, like right behind them, and like the scene would end, and everyone would walk away, and he'd still be standing there just breathing. So that just reminded me of it, just hovering around and breathing.
I wonder what Keo thinks.
Me too.
If it's too difficult for you to say no, I don't want this, I would try and at least say, do you care whether I want you to do this? Or you think, like, ask him if he cares, and maybe his answer will say something about how you really feel about him.
Right, or the type of person he is.
Yeah.
And like, is this just about making me happy, or do I care how? This is something that two people do together.
Yeah.
It's not something one person does to another person. Olivia.
Well, I just think, and I know that you said that this wasn't really what they wanted to hear, but like if you say no and he's still like really pushy about it, then you don't want to be with this person.
Because
Like
it could get worse, as Dr. Green says.
it could get worse, but like there are other things. Like you want someone who respects you and respects what you're comfortable with.
Do you wonder what Maddie thinks?
I do.
Before we get to that, Iceman?
Yes? Oh, okay. Oh, Maddie, you're so fine. What she says will blow your mind. Hey,
Maddie!
Hello.
That's your cue.
Well, actually, like reading back over the question, they didn't say like all they did was, "I mean, we're only 15." Like, is she concerned about how this looks to other people?
I think
Like-
she's concerned that they're moving too fast and she's
Okay.
not ready for this heavy of a makeout session
Okay, fair
at
enough.
15. I mean, that's how I read
Yeah.
it. Did anyone read it differently?
I mean, I just thought like she could be worried about
I
how
mean, they're
it, like,
not like at the Olive Garden.
No, but
No one else is
No.
watching. I
no, but like,
assume.
is it like? I was wondering if she was thinking if it's like, is this really socially acceptable at our age versus this is making me uncomfortable.
That's a good point. I mean, some 15-year-olds do make out, but it's Dr. Green?
It doesn't matter. I'm not disagreeing with
No,
you,
I
but
know.
it just, whatever her reasons are, if it's because she wants to become a nun, if it's because she can't stand his breath, I don't care what it is. She has the right to say no. And she has the right to say not now and not yet and not tonight, dear, I have a headache. She has the right to say any of those things, and he has to obey, for
Would
lack
you
of a better word.
prescribe a knee to the groin?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And a slap across the face and a shove up the nose if he's leering over her doing it. Whatever
Wow,
it is.
things just turned really violent.
Yeah.
Well, I would just say like, only if he won't stop. Like not
Yeah.
the first time. Like, but
No,
it's
no,
not
no,
like you
no.
don't say anything and then just punch him. And
I like only if he's not listening. We are at 888-531-7171. If you have ever been groped unwantingly, let's see Keo. I would love to have you read Nisha's question, but before we get to that,
Yes. Join me, won't you? His name is Keo, and the mic is in his hand. He'll take
Thank
your
you.
question, answer it
If-
the best he can.
woo! Yeah.
Okay, from Nisha now. Someone told me I have a crush on you, and I have no idea how to respond. I haven't responded yet. I don't hate the person because I don't really know him that well. Please tell me what to say.
Once again, the girl not wanting to say something that someone doesn't want to hear. Why are girls such pleasers, Dr. Doug Green? Dr. Psychiatrist?
What is a psychiatrist?
I can say that in my life they haven't felt so much need to please all the time. So it's somewhere there's something that's off in the universe, something that's terrible here. The big thing I would say with this thing is realize that crushes are great, and someone having a crush on you is nothing but a compliment.
Mhm.
It's just wonderful. And, Justin Bieber, there are a lot of crushes on Justin Bieber. It doesn't mean he has to do anything about it.
He doesn't answer my letters at all.
See, it's exactly it.
And I don't think it makes him lose any sleep. Real simple, I would just say, I'm sorry, I don't like you that way. Maddie.
But say thank you, too.
But thank you
I
is
would-
such a compliment.
I'd
You're
say
right.
I'm flattered but not interested. Like that's
Ooh,
just the
that sounds like
easiest way.
language your parents gave you, is it?
No.
You wrote that? You wrote that?
I didn't write it.
That's
I spoke
really
it.
good. I'm flattered but not interested. And scene. Oh, do we? We don't have an Austin song because he's a guest. He's a. Can you?
Viva Austin, viva, viva Austin. How about that?
I love it.
Cool. I was going to say, just try to keep it as positive as possible while still rejecting him. So like something like, I like you a lot as a friend and nothing more.
You could do the improv trick, which is yes, and we won't be dating. Livy.
I mean, she says it in the question that she doesn't really know him, so you could say, like, I would like to get to know you better, but right now I do not have those feelings.
That's right. Sometimes it can just feel really overwhelming, like, what's expected of me? You know, because you picture yourself, like this kid asked me to dance at camp, and I was maybe like 11, and the whole dance, and it wasn't even a slow dance, it was just the whole dance I was thinking, how do I not have a camp boyfriend? Like I was like thinking a month ahead, and that kid just asked me to dance, and then we separated. I don't think I ever spoke another word to him the whole month, because that's all he wanted was the dance. Like, you can get too ahead of yourself. Just because someone likes you doesn't mean you have to get married. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I agree with what Olivia said, but also, when you're rejecting someone, you don't want to like come across like too harsh, because I think if you just say like, I'm not interested, that can come across like you did something to disinterest me.
No, but couldn't you say like, could we get to know each other better?
Yeah, exactly. So if you kind of offer like, it's not that I dislike you, it's not that I don't want to talk to you, it's just that I don't know you very well. Like, that's, I think, a lot better. And also, if they ask you, if they just said that they have a crush on you in person, and now, like, it's been the time that you, like, posted in the app and we respond and stuff, I don't think you're really obligated to say anything, because, like, if 3 days later, if you go up to them and say something, it'll be a little, like, I think it'll bring it back. But if it was, like, if they, like, texted you that, then I guess you could respond.
And have you guys noticed this, that kids tend to skip the whole talking thing, and they go right to asking someone out? And then they say yes or whatever. And then I get questions from kids going, I don't know what to say to my boyfriend.
Well,
and you're like, why is he your boyfriend? Did you guys notice the same phenomenon, that the whole communicating thing just completely gets leaped over? Who hasn't spoken yet? Olivia.
I noticed that in, like, the end of elementary school and middle school, it was just like, if two people happened to like each other, then they had to go out. And that was it.
That was the law.
Yeah. So, I mean, not so much in high school, and I don't think that's how it's going to be in college. So.
No, I mean, I think kids do things like they come up with games that force them to talk or force them to make out, because they don't know exactly how to do it. So they've turned it into some sort of activity that, kind of enforces that, 5 minutes in heaven. Well, here we are. 7 minutes. Yeah, I guess I never played it, but skipped all those parties.
I know I didn't.
Ryan.
I was going to say that also something you've mentioned on the show before is when kids ask each other out, they like don't date. They just become boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, there's no dating that goes on. Like, people think that's what dating is in like high school and middle school, but like dating is to go on a date, not to be in a relationship. You know what I mean? So.
Yes, in real life, dating is to go on a date, and you can date someone for 5 times and still not be that person's boyfriend or girlfriend. But in high school, it kind of like I remember really early on in the show, we had a kid on the show, Quincy, and he said that somebody at your school was deeply offended that someone had asked her to just go to the movies but not be his girlfriend. And you already know who it is. And like and of course he told this to his parents, and they probably explained, well, in the real world you do go to the movies way before you become a couple. And so it's funny how it's almost like kids feel this need to sort of like molecularly collide with each other, because they don't know how to do that whole talking kind of dance. It's just like, we're a couple, boom. But then by the time you're 18, it's just like, no, you're going to buy me some spaghetti.
And meatballs.
Give us a call at 888-531-7171. I'm Louise Palenko. We are here with Our Place Out Loud. We have Dr. Doug Green, who's not technically a doctor, but for our purposes, he is.
He plays one on TV.
Dr. Phil can be a doctor, so can you, Dr. Green. Austin?
My advice to kids on this subject is just forget about the whole idea of what a relationship is. Just abandon that whole thing and just be yourself and have fun. And if you end up meeting someone that you end up really liking, then maybe something will happen, maybe it won't. But like, don't try to get like this type of thing to happen, because it's just going to end up being like, what do I talk to my boyfriend about? Whereas if people just naturally, like in their own sort of being themselves way, interact, then that's what leads to things that work.
Things that actually work. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can have someone with the title of boyfriend and have nothing to say to that person, or you can have like a really close friend. You're not technically dating, but you're really learning how to communicate with the opposite sex or with the same sex if you're homosexual. We're going to jump to the next question because we've got so many good ones. Who hasn't had their theme song sung yet? Olivia, would you like to read the Sweet Pea question as you are introduced via jingle?
Olivia, 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 Olivia.
Okay, so my one best friend is ignoring me for I don't know what reason. She wrote on her Facebook that she needs to talk to somebody, so I texted her, but all she did was ignore me, and I'm feeling really upset and worried. She's not mad at me or anything, but I don't know why she's ignoring me.
So it feels like one of those things that happened for 12 hours and then kind of solved itself. But in case it didn't, because sometimes kids write to me because there's something that's upsetting them right then, and it's really not a long-term issue. But go ahead, Rye.
I think you just need to be like straight up with it. Go up to them if they're one of your best friends, you can, or if they were at one point, and just say to them, maybe I'm picking up on the wrong signals here, but I feel like I'm being ignored. Did I do something to bother you, or do you just need space right now, or what's that about? And they should be happy to say either I've just blah, blah, blah pissed me off and I just need some time away from you, or they would just say, I didn't mean to come across that way. I'm not trying to ignore you. I've just been busy.
But you can see how it would feel like, I need someone to talk to, and then the one person that texts it's like, she obviously wants to talk about me because she's not responding to me. Liv.
Okay, when I was in middle school, it was kind of like a thing, like someone would like say like, oh, like I need someone to talk to. It's because they wanted to hear specifically from one person.
Oh, code.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like...
Oh, so you really don't need to take it personally. It's probably like some boy that you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, so she was leaving herself open. I like it.
Yeah,
Very
there's that.
interesting.
I mean, also, like, sometimes, like, with best friends, like, I had a best friend all through elementary school and middle school. And then just because, stuff happened, like, we weren't friends for 2 years because we were spending every single day together, all of elementary school and all of middle school. And then, we just kind of needed a break. And sometimes that happens when you're friends with someone and you're spending so much time together. Sometimes you just need to take a second and remember that there are other people out there.
Kind of like radio's relationship with the Bee Gees. We're done. Let's burn some records. We like the music, but, enough. Maddie.
I think also what you could say to her, because my friend and I, we had this kind of a problem where I thought that she was really upset with me, but, in the end she wasn't. But she, so I just told her, I feel like you're upset with me. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with you right now, but if you need to talk to somebody, feel free to talk to me. And then I just kind of left her alone.
Okay,
and
for how long?
For but we were texting, and then about 5 minutes later, she texted me with the whole. It was like a 9-page text.
How did you bear it? What did you do for those 5 minutes? I mean,
I was dying. The pressure was on. No, but it's a lot of times if you just tell somebody that you're willing to give them space, they will probably feel more open to talking to you, because it kind of can feel like really kind of tense and stressful if somebody feels like you want them to tell you something, so you're not gonna tell them.
Yeah, so if you say take all the time you need, they're just like, wait, where are you going?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you gonna be doing while I do that?
It's like if you walk away from something, a lot of times it'll follow you.
Exactly.
Not in the sad way.
Iceman?
I want to ask a question of you, Maddie. When you're talking about somebody texted you a really long, heartfelt text about something that was on their mind, do you often sometimes feel like, geez, I'd rather actually talk over the phone because, maybe you might read something into the text, the content of the text that isn't what that person actually meant?
Well, that's definitely like tone. Also, when people talk is really important in a conversation. But this was at like 2 in the morning.
Oh, okay.
So probably not a good time to have a
Lord.
loud talk on the phone.
You got the
but
blanket over your head and the yeah, okay.
a little bit brightness all the way down on the phone. But yeah, so I think it's if it's a really important topic, usually better to either like physically meet with someone or speak on the phone.
My
But,
philosophy is whenever it starts to become tense, is time for voices. Rory.
Swing that over here. Yeah, I was gonna say, the longer I think you know someone, the easier it gets to get their tone on texts because you just understand them and how they talk and like
Their frowny
the
faces.
kind of things they say. And like I have a friend who loves to text, so I know exactly. Like he can just send me pages, and I just know exactly how. It's So it happens sometimes.
That's interesting.
Yeah, like the other day, Louise texted me hello. I swore she hated me.
Well, I did.
She liked your Instagram post, so she had a crush on you.
All right. She has a husband. He'll kill me.
No, he won't.
I have a wife. He'll kill her.
Chill. They may wind up together. It could work out. Ryan.
I was gonna say in response to like the when like should you call someone? I've had like friends text me really important things, and especially like this happened to me last week. Like someone texted me something really dramatic that I didn't expect that was like going on in their family, and like we were texting back and forth, and then I just didn't hear my phone buzz, so I didn't respond, and like they were like, then they started getting really worried that like they had done something or like I didn't want to help them through it, or I didn't know what to say, and it was just there's a lot of margin for error when you're texting, whereas if you're on the phone, it's like not 20 minutes between your responses. If you don't hear it, it's just
No,
you
and
talk it out.
I find that like maybe someone has done a study, but like let's say that like a certain amount of information is transferred back and forth via text, and then the exact same amount of information is transferred back and forth via talking. It's probably like 1/10 the time. So texting to me just feels really clunky, and like I can't even believe it's advanced technology because to me it just feels so like forever. Like just talk to the person, Livy.
Well, I'm a really bad texter. Like I'm just able to admit that because like really all I want to respond is K, but then I have to like do a whole thing and I have to sit there and I'm really bad with the thumbs. But I now have friends all over the country, so I had to get better at it because that was like the only way we could communicate. And recently, while setting up my roommate situation for next year, one of my friends decided that she didn't want to live in our room anymore. And it really, I was fine with it. Like, okay, like that's your choice. I mean, it's going to be a whole year of your time. Like, do what you want to do.
Right.
But the way that she wrote it out, if I didn't know her, could have been read completely wrong.
Yeah.
And it was read completely wrong by the other person in
Oh,
the room.
okay.
And they just started talking again after about a month and a half.
Really?
Because and then after they tried to clear up the whole misunderstanding over text.
Yeah,
So-
see, when it gets tense, it's time for voices. That's my, like, for me, like, email and texting is for an exchange of information. It's not for an exchange of feelings. I think feelings should be reserved for, like, speaking.
Yeah,
at
like
least,
texting is-
on the phone. Go ahead. Right.
Sorry, I was gonna say texting is great for like sending like addresses to people and stuff, but I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Go ahead, Kyo.
Personally, I hate texting whenever I don't like texting unless I'm bored, and so I don't generally text anyone because I don't feel like that's fair because they might just be texting me because I'm bored, and if somebody texts me and is like, hey, what's up? I'm like, I don't really want to get in a conversation.
I want to tell you.
Yeah, like if someone says it to me, like,
how are you?
Sometimes Facebook accidentally turns my chat on, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
I'm working here.
Yeah.
Because you have to wait for them to answer. We're going to move on to the next question. I know your hand was up, Ryan. I'm sorry. Messenger is the screen name. I am searching for a new group of friends to chill with. I'm 16, and all the past friends were drinkers and smokers, and I'm against that now. Please help. Dr. Doug, how does somebody at age 16, really, like midway through their adolescence, completely switch up the whole friend thing? Get accepted by a new group, leave alone people that were, using a lot. It's tricky, isn't it?
I think the big message to this person is congratulations.
Yeah.
That it's really brave and difficult. I mean, I don't know how many people in this room, I can sort of say I didn't do it, to totally, while you're a teenager, got one, to totally change who you're hanging out with is a big, tough thing. The main thing I would say then is it's kind of treat it like you're at a new school or something. How would you find friends? How do you find people who share your interests? How do you find people who are like you? I can look across this group and tell you a lot about these people. I can see
You don't know anything about Austin. Back off.
I can tell some things. I mean, I can see some musical tastes. I can see some, cultural, whatever. It's just I can see some stuff.
Yeah.
How do you
can.
dress?
Yeah.
Join clubs at school, whatever. If you have an interest, find ways. Put on a T-shirt that shows what you're interested in.
You know what Austin's interested in, don't you? Our place.
Yeah.
Show 'em.
Very right. Exactly.
How many cameras do you have to go to, Justin, before you get to Austin's camera? Is Austin not? He's wearing an Our Place T-shirt. Stand up, Austin. Which, very dashing.
Do you need me to model the women's tee again to show what that looks like?
Oh yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Did he have to pay for that, or did he get it for free?
Oh, but hold it up.
Oh.
Olivia could hold it up.
Okay.
He got it for free.
Oh, very nice.
Yep, he got a jingle in that.
Yeah. I'll probably have to pay.
So yeah, the point that you're making, Dr. Doug, is that the people who share your interests are in a club somewhere. And you
In
just
some
join
way.
it. Yeah.
In some way. You got to find them. You've done the hardest part, which is pushing away the people who were your life.
Or to even make this announcement that I would like to is huge.
Yeah, although the way I read it, maybe I read it wrong. I thought he was pretty much saying he has done it.
I'm searching for a new group of friends to chill with. I'm 16, and all my past friends were it's past
Yeah,
tense,
past friends, yeah. So I would say, really, I know it's lonely now, and it hurts, but you're actually 98% done. It's
Has
if you find one, it's good.
Has anyone had to do this?
Got
Keo?
a couple of hands.
I kind of didn't just go cold turkey and stop hanging out with my group of friends. I had one friend in the group of friends that I liked and was like a good friend, and I still like him. We don't talk that much, but he's still my friend. And I would hang out with him during lunch, and I would usually just go home after school and do whatever I want to do at home. And then I met people like my new group of friends in classes through the school year.
But you knew you needed to make a change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Liv?
Well, I had the same thing when I decided after middle school, I had been at that same school since preschool, and I was done, and I couldn't handle any of them anymore. I didn't really keep in contact with anybody other than 2 people, but even them, I didn't reach out. If they wanted to talk to me, I didn't ignore them, but I was done trying to fit in there because I really feel that every kid at that school is exactly the same. And, I mean, someone was using a Birkin bag as a backpack. Come on. So
I don't understand.
A Birkin
What's
bag is
the affront?
$6,000.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really? That's how little I know about labels.
Yep. So
I thought
that's
you were
when
talking
I
about
gave
burlap
up.
or something.
And
That's
then,
what I was thinking, just throwing it over their shoulder.
No. And I had my parents got me a computer, and it wasn't the newest one, and I brought it to school to work on a project, and someone gave me a look and went, really? So I was like, okay, I'm going to go now.
Wow. Paris Hilton was one of your...
A neighbor to one of them.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's redonk. Ryan?
2 things. One about friends, one about Paris Hilton. All right, so the first one is about friends. And so I didn't have to do this exactly, but at the beginning of freshman year, when you go to a new school like I did, you kind of just start to become friendly with a lot of people, and it takes some time to actually figure out who your friends are.
Right.
But so there were a couple of people who I was really friendly with, and I'm like, oh yeah, these people are going to be my friends soon. And then I was like, no, those are not the kind of people I want to be around after you kind of get to know them better. Because at the beginning of the year, when you're first jumping into a new group, everyone's putting on, their making themselves look the best they can.
Right.
But as I was friendly with those people, they started introducing me to their friends. And so if you find the right people and just kind of start talking to them, even if they're not your best friends, just friendly with them, they introduce you to their friends, and you can find the right kind of people.
So you
in that
fine-tune
group.
it. And that's exactly what happens when you go to college, because everybody there... And I had this awareness when I went to college when I was 17, and I had this awareness the night before. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up, and every face I see is going to be a face I don't know today. And it just freaked me the heck out. And then I realized, and it's going to be the same for all of us. Yeah. So I will be friendly, I didn't use those words exactly, but, be open. And my mom even said to me, the people that you wind up going to meals with the first week won't wind up being your friends. I mean, maybe, but you have to just, everyone's kind of like swimming. So you got to grab onto each other, and then you'll figure out who you're supposed to be with. But I guess switching up friends at 16 would be the same as just pretending you went to college and it was all new kids, and just be friendly.
Like when you do a puzzle, you got to put it in the wrong spot sometimes to find the right spot.
Wow,
Whoa.
you're good.
Put it on a pillow. Put it on a pillow.
Put that on.
I think he's the doctor,
Wow.
not me,
He's,
man.
He's good.
The
He gets a free
CEO
Our Place
a
T-shirt
Trist
for
or
that.
whatever.
Yep. All right, so who wants to read Always Wondering? Ryan?
I like talking.
This one is good for Dr. Doug.
I like sports too, if you didn't know. But all right, always wondering. So just recently, my mom and I were talking. I asked her the reason why my dad and her divorced. She didn't want to tell me because she was too afraid of hurting me. She told me that a main reason was because when I was about 4, he told my mom he wanted to hang himself. She said she just couldn't stop thinking about that, and she thought that it was because she wasn't good enough. Then they divorced when I was 7. I feel like it's my fault, or that it was. I can't stop thinking about it.
So you've got your mom thinking it's her fault that her dad made this very shocking statement, and now you've got the kid thinking it's all her fault. Why does this happen, Dr. Doug?
It's actually a developmental. Well, in terms of the kid thinking it was her fault, it's a developmental thing that there's a certain age, and this is exactly it. If you're 7, where it just has to do with literally your brain development, that you will think certain things are because of you. It's just the way you view the world. The fact is, nobody has ever divorced because of their kids. A really super difficult kid, like a kid with a terrible disease or something, who's just an enormous amount of work, can put a lot of stress on a marriage, of course. But it never is because of the kid. And yet kids will believe it over and over and over. You will even have some parents tell the kid it's because of them.
Should this parent have told this kid it was because your father threatened to kill himself and I thought it was my fault? Should she have told the kid that much information?
I don't know. I'd say it would be a really good idea for that mother and daughter to go to a family therapist to talk about this stuff. It sounds to me like dad was chronically depressed.
Oh, yeah.
And it's no fun to live with somebody who's chronically depressed.
And it's no one else's fault.
And it's nobody's fault. And mom may have stuck it out and tried everything she could, and maybe he didn't take meds, and maybe he wouldn't go to therapy. I don't know these things. But the main thing, the giant, huge thing is for that girl to know it was not her fault. What to do now is... does it say how old she is now?
No, my husband always asks me how old. Well, he asked me like 17 details about each person. I'm like, it's not in the letter, so I don't know. But just assume that they're all like 13 or 14 because they a lot of them are.
I would say it's a great age to do that. To if you're local, call me. I refer you to somebody, or I can see you. But find somebody who you can go to with your mom and help initiate and get these conversations going, because it's time now.
Do you think it helps when you just look at a kid and just say, it's not your fault? I promise you it's not your fault. Does it take a big load off of them?
It can. It worked in Good Will Hunting.
He just said the same thing.
How do you like them apples, huh?
Yeah.
So this is Doug Green. He's a licensed psychotherapist. And
Good.
She got it right that time.
What you are. It took me 4 months to learn how to say kimute. Yeah. So you should feel honored.
And you still don't really say it that much.
I don't. I can say it.
Right.
Like it's like Picasso. I can, paint something realistically, but instead it's just going to be a couple of blotches.
It's better than me. I can't paint something
Ryan.
realistically. My parents also got divorced, and for a long time, it wasn't me who thought it was my fault, but my brother thought it was his fault. I was a little younger to think it was my fault. I didn't really understand the full thing. My initial reaction was actually just, I'm going to have 2 houses now. Because I was just way over my head. But my brother really thought it was his fault, especially because when we were little, my dad was basically like an angry time bomb, and he would just explode at any minute and get physical or start throwing things or whatever it may be. And my mom had really bad anxiety, and it was a bad match, and they would basically set each other off. All the while, my brother had ridiculously bad ADHD, and my dad really wanting like his peace and quiet. And whenever my brother would start being really hyperactive, he would set my dad off, which would set my mom off, and it was just bad. But so my brother always thought it was his fault, and just over time he started to realize it wasn't. And it's one of those things, like you were saying, that it's not always, you can't always just tell someone that it's not their fault, and sometimes it just goes away after time. And I think more so for the parents, rather than just saying that it's not your fault, because if I was that age and someone told me that it wasn't my fault, I'd still be looking for a place to put the fault. And it's like, okay, so whose fault is it? If you can't give me an answer, then I guess it's mine, even if you tell me it's not. So sometimes if you say, your dad and I were fighting a lot and it's because of, it's because our relationship wasn't working and it had nothing to do with you, that, I'd be more able to listen and hear that.
What are the words of the great song, Iceman? It's just you and me and we both disagree. It's a brilliant lyric right
Dave
there.
Mason.
That's correct, Dave Mason.
Dave
That's
Mason,
right.
yes.
Right. It's not you and me, it's we just disagree.
It's
and
yeah.
the lime and the coconut and drink it all.
Exactly. See, sometimes personalities just don't work together, and they're both fine. Everyone's great. Maybe there's something you need to work on a little bit. Maybe there's something Howard needs to work on a little bit. Maybe there's something Iceman needs to work on a little bit.
No,
Probably
he's
not Iceman,
great.
but my point is, sometimes because when you decide to make a home with somebody, that's a lot to ask of two different personalities. We're going to be doing a lot of compromising, and it doesn't always work just because people fell in love. It just doesn't always work, and that's okay. It's just that once you decide to have kids together, it's sort of not okay because now it's really complicated and there's kids involved. Go ahead, Ryan.
And just one thing that my dad was telling me, because this conversation came up the other night, which is why I remember this so clearly. But my dad was telling me that someone had told him when my parents were going through their divorce that to make a commitment to spend the next, if you're 30 when you get married, to spend the next 60 years of your life with someone and expect that everything's going to go well and that's going to last, it's a big commitment. And so, you can't always be sure that when you're going into marriage that it's going to finish that way, because 60 years, to spend with someone when you've only lived 30 years, and to know how that's going to end up is not always something that you can't
predict it. You can't. You can just do your best.
The other thing I'd throw in on that is, how many of you have had a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Like, just about all of you. Could anybody else have broken you up? Could somebody I don't mean if somebody, gorgeous came in and tried to steal you away, that's a different story. But if somebody you knew wanted to break you up, could they have?
Not really.
Now imagine you were married and a 3-year-old tried to break you up.
3-year-olds are really loud.
They're really loud, but they can't do it.
And
It's
they're
just-
persistent.
And they're persistent.
Why?
But they simply...
Why?
Why'd you marry him? Why? Why are you still with him? No, they just can't. It's a false belief.
It's a false belief. I like that. Austin.
I would say even if a young child, like age 7 or younger, was really, really troublesome, and that just shook the marriage to the point where they actually just want to get divorced, I would still say that's not the kid's fault. I would say that it's still the parent's responsibility to take care of that troublesome child and to correct the child's behavior.
I would say boarding school.
Yeah. Get rid of the kid, not the spouse. You like the spouse.
Yeah.
Not related, but may I give our sports update before we head on?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Wait, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. If you're a fan of the NBA, the Spurs are currently beating the Heat by 12 points in the third quarter in Game 6 of the NBA Finals, and the Spurs lead the series 3-2. So tonight the NBA season could end. I want LeBron James to lose so bad.
Okay, go Sporting Squad. So your name is Doug Green.
Yes.
And do you want to give out your phone number, or do you want to just give out your website?
I'll do both. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's Douglas Green MFT, like Mary Frank Thomas, .com, or 818-624-3637.
Fantastic. Jadinea, my dad died 2 days before Christmas, and I always cry myself to sleep. And my brother does drugs and hurts me a lot, and my mom acts like nothing happened, and I am now 10. How do I get on with life? So many big questions in one little post. You have 3 minutes to help this kid?
Talk to somebody. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Call that phone number we just gave, and I'd be glad. Even if you don't live here, I'll try to help you find somebody. If you've got someone at school you can talk to, if you're a member of a religious organization and there's a rabbi or priest or imam or whatever that you can talk to, somebody. This is too much.
It's a house in crisis.
Yeah, there's a lot of crisis, and you might not even know this word, but it sounds like your mom's in some denial. there are places all over the world that help with grief, and that's what you're fundamentally really dealing with. Your dad died, and it's not fair.
Nope, it's not fair. Does anyone have any last-minute questions for Dr. Doug Green, who's not actually a doctor, but I don't get arrested for calling you that, do I?
No, you don't. You
Okay.
I buy you more drinks.
All right,
Yeah.
Ryan.
Non-alcoholic, Doug.
Okay.
What drew
It's
you?
cheap.
What drew you into your profession? And then, like, on top of that, did you ever consider any other profession?
Yeah. This was a midlife career change. I was a writer and director of theater and film, and loving it, but not doing well enough at it. And it kind of fell apart. I'd made a feature that didn't sell and some stuff. And I was substitute teaching to pay bills and loving working with kids and not loving the teaching part. And eventually somebody pointed this thing out to me that, I'd always been very interested in psychology and stuff like that. And someone pointed out that I could become a therapist in 2 years and that there was a gigantic market out there for male child therapists because there aren't many of them and a lot of people want to get a male. And I was thrilled to hear that I could be a desired quantity for once in my life and jumped into it with joy, and I've loved it ever since.
Cool.
Yay!
Thanks.
And we're happy to have you with us on the show. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
watching. Thank you all, panel of kids. I'm Louise Palenker, Our Place Out Loud. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
It's coming back.
Should.